All right, Eric, big news. Oiler fans, excited. You don't look excited, I'll tell you that much right now. There we go. Got a smile out of you. Connor McDavid, back. I would say, for me, a little earlier than I expected.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely earlier. But, he's kind of got this superhuman history of coming back quicker than anyone else thought. So, or maybe they just gave him a huge buffer, as I would too. If I was running an organization that had the best player in the world on my team, I would give a large window for the possibility for him to return. And if he came back early, that's just a bonus. That's all right.
Who is Matt Coronado?
I guess that, outside of the Calgary market, I guess it's a fair question. Like, he's first round draft pick, Calgary Flames, played in the U.S. Junior Hockey League and had like a goal a game. His last 2 years, I think he averaged a goal a game. One of those ridiculous, stat lines. Then went to Harvard, played a couple years there, was an absolute stud at Harvard, and then came to Calgary as he was their first round draft pick from 3 years ago, and 4 years ago, I guess now. And he's known for having a deadly shot, for being a pure goal scorer. The knock on him the last year and a half, when he was been back and forth between the minors and the NHL, was, can he play defense, or can we trust him late in a close game to play the right way at both ends of the rink? He's worked on that over the course of the last year, and I honestly think so. You're asking me because last night he scores with 3 minutes to go. A real goal scorer's goal, holding on to the puck, then deciding to drive into the middle of the ice, which is the hardest place in the world to kind of penetrate in the offensive zone, and then snipes one home to tie the game at Bell Center, then wins it with 7 seconds in overtime. Pretty impressive. You had to admit, he looked like a seasoned veteran.
He did. He did. He looked like I was watching, I don't know, Nathan McKinnon or somebody. He busts in, and the overtime goal, the funny story was, my daughter's there, and she knows Dad's a bit of a degen. She goes, "Did you gamble on this one?" I said, "Yeah. I need the Habs to win. I need Montreal to win." And they just blew it. So she sits down and she's watching with me, and it's 7 seconds into overtime. All of a sudden, here comes this Coronado guy again, snaps it real, what a shot, laser. Yeah. And I'm like, man, Matt, it's not spelt the same as Coronado Island in San Diego. Fantastic little Muni golf course, by the way.
So good. Yes, I played that one too. Of course.
Isn't it awesome? It's like $60. Naval base. Yeah. Since this segment always goes sideways, the one time we played it, it was really early in the morning, and I'm out there, and I just joined up with 3 guys because they're on a family trip, and all of a sudden, I'm looking around, and all these balls are dropping out of the trees because when it expands as it gets warmer, and I'm like, so I'm just picking up all these. I'm like, Pro V, I'm going to put that in my pocket or in my bag. And I look up, and everybody on the golf course is standing, and they're playing the anthem at the naval base. And I'm the only idiot walking around picking up golf balls where all these Americans are standing and I'm like, okay, if I ever come back here at 8 a.m, they fire up the anthem at the Coronado naval base, or the naval base there. Yeah, but he's a Chicago Steel, Harvard, and now at the Flames. So, yeah, it was impressive to watch.
Well, and he's been given this perch on I think it's the most opportunistic spot on the Flames roster, being with Coleman and Backlund, like the 2 most offensively responsible guys. But it's also quite an ask for a guy they've questioned his defensive ability. Now he's on the line that's faced with shutting down last week Draisaitl, Bedard. Like, are you kidding me? Like, it's quite a leap of faith to think he can do it. So far, so good. And I really believe, I know you're half joking when you say, who is he? But,
half.
I really believe that, not even half. But I really believe that this is like a massive turning point for his career. Like, I think he was in the minors like 6 days ago. and scored 2 goals. And I really believe now that he's back up and what he did there, I think it's going to do so much for his confidence. And I think you'll never see Matt Coronado go back down to the minors again. And I do think he's a 25-goal scorer in the National Hockey League, no question in my mind.
I think it's really cool that we get these new names that are coming up. Eric, it's Craig Adam here. I don't necessarily follow the sports world like I used to, but when Barney had texted me today and we're going to talk Flames, we're going to talk Coronado, I thought he was talking about an old vintage car or something like that. That was back in the day, but it's nice to see these different names pop up, not just with the Flames, but other teams, and it's like then you have a chance to really delve into where were they, how did they get here, and I think that's a fresh take on the teams, and it's a fresh take on the league to get these new names that are out and about.
Well, and I agree with you. I mean, it is a young man's game, and more of these younger guys are making an impact. I mean, Coronado's 21 years old. It's not like he's that young because he put a couple of years in at Harvard, but you got a Flames team right now that is in, I call it a hybrid rebuild. And you are hoping for nights like last night where the 3 stars of the game for the Flames were Connor Zary, Matt Coronado, and Dustin Wolf. These are all guys that are 22 or younger, and they're the future of this franchise. And, they can't do it without the help of the veterans kind of running the show here, but it's comforting to have nights like that where those youngsters are showing that if they're not ready to take over and be stars, that they're trending that way. And that was encouraging. I think people would say that would be great if they just would have lost in overtime, because the Flames fans, there's still a portion of them that want them to lose more often than they win, so they get a better draft pick next time around.
What are you hearing about, is it managers meetings next week? They're all getting together, and then that's a good time for the Team Canada brass for the Four Nations Cup to get together. What are you hearing there?
Well, I'm hearing everybody in hockey starting to get excited and start talking about who should be on Team Canada. Like, it's been a lot of years, guys, since we had those good old discussions like, no, he should be on. No, he should be on. And I think last night was a good example. Cale Makar gets injured. And the first thing everybody starts to say is, oh my God, how long is he going to be out for? Is he going to miss the Four Nations Cup? And I know at this point in time, I do believe that there's a lot of people that are looking at the Four Nations Cup and maybe saying it's a bit gimmicky, maybe looking at it like the World Cup of hockey was last time. People thought it was gimmicky. I thought it was incredible. And the most genius move of that, I thought from the start, was the Young Guns team. And I was proven to be right on that one. There were a ton of people that thought it was it was a ton of people who thought it was just a gimmick and it was a shtick and it was stupid. But hey, I was at the Canada Cup in '87 as a 17-year-old hockey fan at Copps Coliseum, watched Mario Lemieux score probably the 3rd most famous goal in the history of Canada. And that tournament meant something back then. The Canada Cup meant something. There's no reason why these Four Nations Cups can't mean almost as much as that. And certainly almost as much as the World Cups of hockey. So let's start talking about who should be on Team Canada, because I got strong opinions, and they can change weekly with injuries, right?
Well, I want the thing that I've been kind of listening to, watching, and then trying to look myself is the defense. And I am somewhat shocked that Drew Doughty's, they're still talking about him, even though he's got an injury, and he's out until I think December-ish, that they're talking that he could be on this team. And I was like, even without the injury, I thought it was going to be a stretch. Hey, the guy's a gamer. He's an absolute gamer, but he's getting up there. And then Pietrangelo is another. I think he makes it before Doughty. But on the defensive side, are we going to see a couple of the old guys, or at least one of the old guys there?
Oh, I think so. I think they count on that veteran leadership. Pietrangelo's had a good start this year, and I think he's shown no signs of slowing down despite his age. And I think it's a natural. I think Team Canada is actually kind of fortunate that they've got a couple pairings that are pretty much set in stone. Like Cale Makar, if he's healthy, and I do believe he will be, and Devon Taves. That's a no-brainer. They play together in Colorado. They're going to play together for Team Canada. Same with Jose Theodore and Pietrangelo. They play together in Vegas. They're going to play together on Team Canada. That's unfortunate for all the other hopefuls on defense because that's just an added bonus that they already have chemistry and no one has to worry about them, reading off each other. After that, that's where the big debate is. Like, I think Josh Morrissey's a lock. I also think Noah Dobson's a lock. And the guy who I'm going to say is a lock, and I'm sure going to sound like a homer, but Mackenzie Weegar to me is a lock for your top 7. Should be a lock. I'm not saying he will be. I'm saying he should be. He scored 20 goals last year. He plays on both the left and the right, which is something none of the other defensemen can say. That's huge.
That is huge.
Way more comfortable. Yeah, he's way more comfortable on his offside, which is where he plays in Calgary. And I think that, he was in a club last year, 20 goals and 200 blocks. Only one other player. He's the only player ever in the history of hockey to get 20 goals and 200 blocks. He's one of only a handful of guys, only 2 defensemen last year had 200 hits and 200 blocks last year. Again, I hate to get into the stats, but it just speaks to how well-rounded he is. And the problem with these things, guys, when you're picking these teams, everyone just picks their all-star team.
No.
Well, you need guys to play roles.
Yeah, team.
And Mackenzie Weegar can play that role as a shutdown, very aggressive defender, and I think that that's why he's a lock on my team.
It was, where was it, Nagano? Or where was it where I kind of clued in on the whole, it's not an all-star team. It's like, you're not picking, Strat-o-Matic hockey was a board game back in like the 80s and 90s for like nerds. My buddy across the street and I played that. It was so weird. Like, looking back, I can't believe you're like, if you're watching the stream, I think I just hit something with Eric. Did you remember that game?
Dude, I have like 20 years worth versions. Like, I'm not going to dig into my drawer again, but I have a little trophy still in my house, the Strat-o-Matic Cup. And my 4 best friends growing up, we played it religiously. And I just never hear people who used to play it. So I'm not really, oh man, you hit me hard with that one. Because most guys, am I wrong, Barley? Most guys don't know about that.
No, it was weird, man. And then you would tell people what you were playing. And it was kind of just, it was like the emergence of, like, Nintendo was already out. So we had Ice Hockey and Blades of Steel. And then it was Sega was kind of just coming out when I was playing it. But none of my friends, we couldn't afford a Sega. So then, yeah, we had the Strat-o-Matic hockey. We used to Slurpees and play it. It was really weird. So much fun, though. If we plan this golf trip, we might have to bring a Strat-o-Matic.
We'll bring it.
What a couple of winners we would look like building up to a bar and play.
It's kind of like Dungeons and Dragons for hockey fans, really. I don't even want to sit here and try to explain it to people because who cares? But it's got all these players' stats. You got to roll the dice, pick a card. You can challenge a guy. You might get a penalty. There's shots on goal. Oh my God, I love it. We put together our lines. Remember if you got the rare guy who had a 4.4 rating? Forward and defense. Anyway, let's not get into the weeds. But yeah,
it was real. It was a wild time back then. But yeah, so if you go Weegar, then who would be left out in that list that you had? Like I don't know much about Dobson, right? Like New York Islanders, I have no idea. Morrissey, like you said, I figure he's a lock. Like if Weegar squeaks in there, like, who do you think? I know it's still November. It's a long time.
It's a long time, and no one's holding us to these rosters because of that. But, one guy who definitely has played his way off the team is Bouchard. Look, you don't need a power play specialist like Bouchard is in Edmonton. He's had a terrible start to the season, and he's proven conclusively he's not very good defensively on many occasions. So to me, he's a massive liability. Like he's not in my conversation no matter how he rebounds this year. It's Doughty and Dobson are your 7 and 8. And I'm not saying that Weegar plays ahead of Doughty or Morrissey plays ahead of Doughty. If Doughty's healthy and playing up to speed by then, he's a lock for number 5, if you ask me, because of his experience and because he's hard to play again. Like, he's not just a guy who gets points, right? Which is what so many people look at for defensemen. He's so well-rounded. He's my guy. So Bouchard's out. Dobson and Doughty are in.
He's a dog. And he's that kind of guy, because this is like happening in February, right? It's weird. Like, how are guys gonna Are they gonna kind of? I'm not gonna really hit. I don't want to do this. And then it's just gonna take somebody with one big hit, and like a guy like Doughty is gonna be like, screw it, I'm here to win. I don't care. Taking your head off. Another thing I wanted to ask is how are things going in Calgary as a market? Then Maz brought up this Flex Club because I was flipping through and trying to get the Regina Pats game yesterday, and I see the Hitmen, I think it's Rebels game on, and it was like absolutely empty. And then I'm like, yeah, and they have an AHL team in Calgary these days as well, and then the Roughnecks coming in. Like, does something have to give there? Will the Hitmen ever maybe move to that, what is it, Seven Chiefs, or that unbelievable facility they have out there? Like, what? Just the hockey scope and how things are going in Calgary. Like, get me up to speed.
It's look, when the Flames brought over the Wranglers, 2 years ago, you knew they were going to cannibalize the Hitmen to a degree. But to me, the effect it's had is they've cannibalized each other. You know, the Hitmen back in their day would get 6,000 to 9,000 people a game, depending on a Sunday. It was rammed in there. Now, the Hitmen have been pretty crappy for the last handful of years, so that really hurts your ticket sales. You know, they were one of the better teams in the Western Hockey League for a good 12 years there, I would say. That's gone, so that hurts. But then the Wranglers come into town. I thought the Wranglers would come into town and they would get maybe 8,000 a game because there's so much interest in a rebuild and all these young players. And then I thought the Hitmen would still get 3 to 5. Both of them are getting like 2,000 to 3,000. That's it. And it's embarrassing in an arena that seats 18,500 people. Having 2,000 people in there is just humiliating. It's embarrassing. It actually hurts in terms of like momentum, you know, the crowd noise getting behind you. It's embarrassing to play in front of that many people. So I like Seven Chiefs, or there's a place here called Winsport, which has a pretty good rink that I think could host a couple thousand people. That's where I think the Hitmen have to ultimately move, but they won't, because the Calgary Flames own all of them. And every time you have a game, that's 35, whatever it is, games for the for the Hitmen, where you're selling popcorn and pop and all that other stuff. So nothing's going to change. They're going to continue to get terrible crowds. And the only thing that can change it is if you win a championship.
How are things looking with the new stadium? Have they broke ground, getting going? 2027, they said they're supposed to open the new stadium, new arena.
Yeah. There's a massive hole right out front of the Saddle Dome right now, and I drive by it every day. And every day it gets a little bit bigger. And it kind of warms your heart, your soul, because it's been on and off again in this city for so many years. And it's, so the point is it's definitely happening. You know, whether they'll do it on time, they claim they will, no problem. Anyone who's ever done a renovation of any sort knows that it's a long shot. But I think they gave themselves a pretty good window to make sure it happens. So
that's just it, right? And once shovels are in the ground, they know that it's happening, right? And all of the politics and everything else is now gone off, and it's happening, right? And you know, I'm pretty happy for Flames fan and the city of Calgary. I mean, you definitely deserve a new arena. The fans are always great, and it's nice to see that it's coming along, and everybody's excited about it.
Yeah, and but it's kind of a double-edged sword, because like it saddens me. They're going to knock down the Saddle Dome, and I know it's time to move on, and I'm an old guy who I'm sentimental and all that, but I still think the Saddle Dome is one of the best barns in the National Hockey League to watch a hockey game. I really do. The press box is absolutely, without question, the best vantage point in the National Hockey League. It's right over the ice, and it's low to it. Edmonton is the worst in the league, so far back. I don't know where the new building's going to stand. They're trying to build it a lot like the Montreal Bell Center, where it's very steep. So I hope that the press box will be over the ice again. Nobody else cares about the press box except for me. By the time that thing's built, there'll be 4 people left in the media anyway. So
nobody cares about the media, no, right?
No, nobody cares. But I just think knocking the dome down. Like, what do you guys think from afar? I mean, I'm sure you've come here and you've sat and watched games in the dome, or at the very least you see it on TV. It's such an iconic building. It's so sad to me that they're going to knock it down, shortly thereafter.
Well, I think that was, a lot of people will say that, Eric, right? Old Mosaic or old Taylor Field, people wanted to keep it, but it was going to cost, hundreds of millions of dollars to even renovate it, or I think the tab was $100 million, and the cost to build the new one was $280 or something like that. And I guess time goes on a smaller scale. The crushed cannon Moose Jaw was such a that was a terrible place for the media. You were trying to shoot highlights and you're getting beams in the way, and all of a sudden it's an overtime goal and the camera couldn't get the angle or whatever. But I think it's just it's the cost of having a professional sports franchise these days, right? It's time has to move on, or you're going to get lost and you're going to get left behind. So it will be sad for it to go. All the parties down Electric Avenue back, Coconut Joe's and everything else used to just give her after Flames games. That was back. Hey, on another one, I'll digress just a little bit. When I went to Mount Royal College back in the late 80s, Daryl Jans was one of my instructors, and sadly, we lost Daryl this week. Icon with CFCN, and he was a great mentor. He's a great teacher in broadcasting at Mount Royal. And the funny thing is, when we were in our television segment of broadcasting, and there's Kevin Carius and myself, and Daryl's like, that Craig, he's really good, Kevin, but I think he might lose his hair at a young age. And I'm like, okay, this is my mentor saying I'm already starting to go bald. I was only 21 years old, and he's already saying that I'm going to be bald. And it's like, okay, Daryl, it's not what I was looking forward for. I was looking for a little bit of inspiration. Anyway,
a follicle savant.
He was a beauty. He was great, and certainly will be missed by everybody in Calgary.
He was a legend for sure. People in the city are quite sad he passed away. And going back to Coconut Joe's on Electric Avenue.
It was the Fox and Firkin and Coconut Joe's or something, I think. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you nailed it. Coconut Joe's is actually a daycare right now. And the joke around this city is that there were kids that were in that daycare maybe 10 years ago that may have been conceived following a night of their parents being at Coconut Joe's, and now they're going to daycare there. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's very possible. Quite possible.
What's the gentleman's name that could picture the hair guy? Was his
Daryl Jans. Daryl Jans. Yeah,
that guy should tour around and he'd make a lot of money. He'd be able to pinpoint out who's going to go bald at a young age.
Well, he nailed it right on the head, right there. So,
okay.
That's how you get 50 years in broadcasting with Daryl Jans. That's how good he was.
Does he have a nice thick head of hair?
He's got a pretty good thick head of hair. Yeah,
like Eric.
He had the pipes too, right? So
like Eric, it's good hair. I can't believe you're at the '87 Canada Cup. Colson, are you waiting to chime in? Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to ask Barney and Eric here. Pick your year of Strat-o-Matic. In the last 20 years, you can pick your year. Which one would you go with?
I would have played it in like 92, 93, in and around there. I just looked one up on eBay. 78. No, what is it? 2000 to 2001. $99. Could buy one.
To buy a used one?
Yeah. What's not new? Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You can order them online from the site. It exists.
Because it's just the cards.
Yeah, so you can get they make the last since like 2001. They make any of those. So you can pick any of those year, or you can get the greatest of all time one. So you guys got the pick of the litter.
WestJet's having a Black Friday sale right away. I might just book a flight to Calgary and might just nerd it up for a weekend and just play it, you and I.
Dude, I'm in my. I swear to God, I'll pay for two of my besties to come in. We'll have a 4-man. We'll have our own Four Nations Cup.
Four Nations Cup.
We'll play it. We could probably order cards and assemble all the teams. Oh, I'm getting excited. I have all those old ones.
Can you pull the picture up?
20 years in my basement. 20 years of them in my basement. But you know what? I would love to order a brand new one just to see how it's evolved or it hasn't evolved, whatever. Online, there it is.
So look at. If anyone's watching the stream, the thing that when I pulled it up, I remember is the guy skating because they couldn't use they didn't have NHL. That guy's wearing like a cat's eye. The cat's eye mask that goalies would wear. He's wearing it as a forward. Now that's a T-shirt too. We should get that on a T-shirt.
Oh, that'd be a great T-shirt. And I remember it so well. Tell me, is it Glen Falls, New York? Is that where they're still based? That's where you'd order them?
Oh, I don't know. We'd have to check.
Oh, he doesn't have it there. Okay, I thought he was on the website. Glen Falls, New York. Anyway,
there's
Strat-o-Matic, boys.
It's funny that there's probably 4 people listening that played Strat-o-Matic. Okay, we get to regroup on Monday. I love it.
On Monday, we're going to go over the forwards for Team Canada because I spent a lot of time on it and I got it 100% nailed to. I'll be 100% accurate on it.
Monday's a holiday. I'm going to have to do it Tuesday.
Tuesday or Wednesday, we'll do it. Yeah, something to look forward to, buddy.
Strat-o-Matic, Glenhead, New York, still headquartered there.
Glenhead?
Glenhead.
Boom.
Oh, Eric.
Love it.
These segments, so they're going to cancel us because they go sideways. All right,
For
talk
sure.
to you next week. See ya.
Maybe not. We'll be canceled by then. See you, boys.
That's our NHL Insider, Eric Francis.